And we just faced the longest living cyclone in the Arabian Sea, Biparjoy, in 2023, which is basically rising out of the sea warming more than it should. The accelerated impacts I will not, really stress too much, because you've seen that yourself. The heat shock that we're going through, we are now the hottest place in the world in the summer at 53.7 degrees. I hope you're not hotter than that in the summer, but our cities are beginning to touch that. Last 3 years, that's been a very hard experience for our people. Water scarcity we are about to touch in 2025, so clearly we need to do something about that. We are also now facing forest fires, which the rest of the world is dealing with. You saw Canada struggling. Climate change knows no boundaries. Meltdown at the third pole. Largest amount of glaciers outside the polar system. So we have a delta to mountain topography that is changing. This is also in crisis, and it stresses our system. The monster monsoon you knew about, it's a transformational shift, and it is challenging our ability to service our people, to feed our economy, to grow our economy, and also now it is impacting food insecurity. Because we've been, agriculture has been a lifeline, and now it is rising more than 40% to 60%. This year poverty has also grown because of climate fragility. The mega floods I won't go into, you've seen it at Geneva. We have described all 33 million affected is the biggest number you heard about. 1/3 of the country was underwater. 20 million are still affected and living in difficult conditions. Programs and initiatives, we have many going on. Nature-based solutions is one of our biggest successes, and in that, Excellency, it may interest you to know that Pakistan is already trading in the carbon markets. In the voluntary carbon market, and we have one of the flagship programs on that. You know about this, I will not, we have clean air policy, all of these. I'm just going to race through it, Secretary Saab, with your permission. And we are working on these as innovations in raising climate-based financing. So while we're monetizing our mangroves and also growing them at the same time, until 2060 we have a new program that will grow our mangroves to 350,000 acres plus. And we are also able to sequester a huge amount of carbon. We have 4 kinds of mangroves. It's reached the Guinness Book of Records, so it is one of the world's flagship programs in sequestering carbon. The Living in this initiative, I will take sometime else another opportunity to interest you in investing in this. This investment project we've set up, which goes into $17 billion US, but it is a nature-based solution. And it is an investment in the lifeline of Pakistan, which is the Indus River. We want to recharge it, and we'll share I won't run through the video, I think that will be too long for them, These are some of the projects that we have prioritized out of a menu of 25. We will share them with your team. I'm happy to make a presentation to them on Zoom, which we are doing. We are projectizing it as we speak. Basically, Sindh, KP, and Gilgit-Baltistan and all our provinces are projectizing them. They're in front of you, and they're excellent partnership investments. We now also have one of the world's best risk management programs in disaster response when the glaciers melt and the flood comes down, just in our northern areas. That we are doing with UNDP. Recharge Pakistan is running side by side with the Indus Lifeline, similar projects, but we need much more of that, so we're running 2 large initiatives at the same time. The snow leopard is one of our big conservation successes. We have brought back the species from the brink of extinction. Pakistan is one of the 2-3 countries in the world that has this species. Our RED strategy is something that we share with all of you, again mounted to Delta, and to reduce our deforestation, one of the most ambitious afforestation programs in the world. We also have now included a climate change gender action plan, and here you see one of our women getting title to leases, to land. which is one of our big empowerment programs, and Sindh, the province, has launched it. As we rebuild from the last flood, the titles are being given to the women householders. They actually cultivate the land also. Pakistan's road to 2030 is obviously first. Our priority is adaptation, because we are already on a mitigation path, as I have just explained. We have investment needs that go into $152 billion US, and climate adaptive, development, shockproofing the country requires 4 times the amount of money that normal development requires. Our mitigation goals are actually preceded our adaptation ones. We are late to the adaptation party, but we need to catch up here. Here, Excellency, if you have any questions, we can unpack this for you.
60% by 2030.
Yes, that's too ambitious, but that's a goal we have set. In that 2030, Excellency, 15% is unconditional and 35% is conditional on funding. That was the NDC that we had set, and that is our path to net zero. You can see that decarbonization has been resourced at 196 billion. Carbon markets are obviously already functioning. We are handing down a transitional interim framework also for other markets to come in. Vera has just come in as part of our registry now, one of the big registries. Electric vehicles, we need to make the shift by 2030. Again, we are looking for investors and funding for that. The energy transition is 60% by 2030. 102 USD billion. That's a lot of money, and that is why I keep saying the gap between resources and goals is very high now. So while countries have made stated ambitions, they have no way to actually practically implement them. Your focus on practicality is music to our ears. So moving from that, leave no one behind. I think that's our common ground. Expectations from COP28. As I said, we are looking for the same global reset that you spoke about in terms of the financial architecture and the MDBs being capitalized to meet the needs that they talk about. We are not getting the funds needed for adaptation or mitigation. The current framework isn't working. Urgent action to operationalize the loss and damage fund. We've spoken about it, to make it additional, predictable, and even to have more agility in accessing the funds. Institutionalizing the private sector, again something that we have been keen to promote, and with your particular position in the entire global game on operationalizing both the public and private sector, we feel that you can take us into another level of opportunities, the entire COP situation platform, which means there should be grant-based climate financing for developing countries. Don't drown us in more debt, is what we're saying. Prioritize favorable outcomes for the global south. Yes, new collective quantified finance goals everybody will be speaking to you about. You know that already, and we will support that. Barriers to accessing private equity investment need to be removed, which means that when we are asked for, when an investor comes in, we are told to projectize everything. That has become a barrier, especially when you are already a very indebted country. The commodity markets don't respond, so raising bonds or debt swaps are very difficult. Then you have, lastly, doubling of adaptation finance. This is a stated goal we all had together. Then we have the comprehensive assessment and accountability mechanisms for the global stocktake, which you have already announced. Ensuring access to a just energy transition work program. I'm speaking of a JETP package for Pakistan. I know that interests you, and I think we should be willing to work with the ADB and the Power Ministry on this together. There is some interest in the ADB to kickstart that. And operationalize the risk index of all parties at the UN system. It's not a new ask, but we need to push for this. There's still no vulnerability index at the UN system. There needs to be. And finally, building and financing early warning systems for countries in the arc of extreme vulnerability. This is something the Secretary General was championing last year, if you recall. So we need that to move forward and not just be a slogan, yeah? Lastly, these are our existing collaborations. I've mentioned the MOU with you that was in climate and the environment space, including energy transition, which we are working on. The rest is in front of you. We want to increase our share of alternative and renewable energies. That is the only way to move forward and reduce our own emissions and reduce our import bill. It's so important. So here we are, it's all in front of you. Any questions, very happy to share them. Thank you very much. And lastly, I'm showing you, we want to give you this 75 rupee note, which is now legal tender and says, commits to saving climate and species. For the first time, Pakistan is giving away money. Thank you very much, Excellency.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for this great presentation. In fact, it only encourages me and my team to continue to repeat ourselves when we say that you are not only a great friend and a great partner, but you're also a very much a like-minded partner. We think alike. This is exactly how we want to conduct business when it comes to addressing climate, and this is exactly how ambitious we are when it comes to delivering a step change at COP28. Before I invite my team to comment very quickly and very briefly on this great presentation, I want you to know that later today we're signing an MOU, a renewable energy MOU between our ministries. But this will set the scene for our investment arms to progressively pursue these opportunities. While we appreciate the fact that there will be many new projects auctioned to help achieve your 60% target by 2030, we also want to explore the possibility of engaging in a direct way. This will help accelerate these developments, whereby we will be encouraged to apply scale and capital. Yeah. Of course, as per an approved and an agreed frame of work that will ensure that you receive the megawatts or the gigawatts you need, and also the investors are protected to achieve their hurdle rates that they want. If you allow, I know we don't have much time. We have about 5 minutes to leave. 5 minutes. Okay, so in the next 3 minutes, Majid and Hannah, you can quickly just provide your views.
Well, first of all, thank you. It's great to be here. I'll repeat some of the things that I said earlier for the wider group. For us, we need to have a COP that is game-changing. We can't have more of the same incremental gains that we've had over the last few COPs. And we really need the support of Pakistan to help us to deliver that. We see this as a COP for Asia. We want to deliver for this region and for the broader developing world. We see that around 4 pillars. The global stocktake is at the heart of that. That has to be an assessment of where we've gone, but more importantly, what is the response and where we're going. Around mitigation, we need to show clearly the actions that will happen that will help to reduce the emissions gap, because the emissions are the challenge and the problem. On adaptation, we believe that on adaptation we need to address challenges that we're being faced today around food, health, rising temperatures, water scarcity, all the things that we just saw in your presentation. So that's wonderful that we're on the same page. Of course, doubling the adaptation finance is key. Loss and damage has to be operationalized and activated as soon as possible. And then finances, we've discussed a little bit already with you, the key part of all of this. How do we mobilize finance through reform of the multilateral development banks and international financial institutions? But then also, how does that leverage the private sector? How do we bring the private sector in across the board in a powerful way to make this make a difference for the average person on the ground? I'll hand over to Hannah to add some more within the context of the negotiations and your leadership that you've done already. But we just want to say that we're here, we're partners with you, and I'll repeat the point that we need Pakistan to help us as a presidency to deliver.
And I have to repeat, I know we're both very ambitious, and I want you to know we're very determined to deliver a game-changing COP. But we also know that we don't have all the solutions, and we cannot do this alone. We will need to ensure that like-minded partners, like our great friends here in Pakistan, step up and engage with us to deliver this game-changing COP.
Assalamu alaikum, and not much to add, of course, from their excellencies. They've covered, of course, our commitment, our deep appreciation for the strong partnership, but also the leadership of Pakistan. Of course, having led the Global South last year, we very much appreciated your inclusive approach in keeping the group united and ensuring that our process delivers for those who need it the most. I think certainly the outcomes last year definitely brought an element of trust back into the process, and that's a momentum that we're very keen to build on with your leadership, Your Excellency specifically. And here I refer to the loss and damage fund and funding arrangements, which were established in COP27, and which through the Transitional Committee must come to recommendations and be operationalized in COP28. This is really, to me, and to many of us, really an opportunity for us to show that the process works, that the process can deliver. And when member states come together and call for solidarity for those who are facing the impacts that they did not cause or create, but that this can actually lead to global solidarity for outcomes, that we can do that in the time we set forward, and we can do that realistically. And so for that, we have an opportunity, having been mandated to convene a ministerial on loss and damage at the UN General Assembly. We have the opportunity to encourage international partners for early pledges to demonstrate that this is not just an empty fund, but one that can be capitalized soon after it's activated at COP28. And on your point on adaptation, that we're looking at using the mandate that we have for the Global Goal on Adaptation to develop a framework that can truly drive adaptive capacities of all countries. And as we're looking towards keeping 1.5 within reach, we're also putting mechanisms in place to adapt to a world that is 1.5 degrees, which your country has been in the front lines of dealing with, and where we absolutely must step up efforts in building resilience and capacities. And furthermore, I think all items have been raised, but we want to ensure that across the agenda that we have this year, that we do have balanced outcomes, but ones that remain relevant for all countries, but that can be championed by all. Through the global stocktake, we will certainly identify the gaps, but as their excellencies have mentioned, we must also identify the response and ensure that that is owned by everyone and implemented by everyone in this decade, so that this platform can really be a catalyst for action and a catalyst for the new model of development that we all want and that the future that we all need. Thank you.
Thank you, Excellencies. I want to commend your excellent negotiator, Hannah. I have been with her at many conferences, and she is on the money always, literally. So thank you.
Nobody is complaining about her yet.
About her yet?
Yeah, they have to complain.
You know?
In order for me to be happy, I know that she's doing a good job, they have to complain.
I can help out with that anytime. So our team had lots to say, and it leaves it's the sign of a good meeting is that we always walk away with the taste of unfinished conversations, like a good party, a good meeting also. So what I would request, Excellency, particularly for our Alternative Energy Board, for petroleum, for AED, and because the Power Minister is out of the country, I would really request a conversation either in Zoom or person when you return to Dubai. We want to have the full envelope of our actors with you now that we see your interest and engagement. Your personal interest and engagement raises the level. Scale and capital for us are exactly the story. So I think that we can take this forward as partners. We are completely committed, as the Prime Minister will tell you, to supporting your presidency, to making it a success, and to not lose this opportunity of your leadership of the COP28.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. Thank you. I'd just like to share a few gifts, small gifts. Thank you.
वफाकी वज़ीर बराए मौसमियाती तब्दीली शहरी रहमान की COP28 के सदर डॉक्टर सुल्तान के हमरा गुफ्तगू। मौसमियाती तब्दीली के हवाले से वज़ीर आज़म की काविशें लायक़े तहसीन है। मौसमियाती तब्दीली के असरात से निपटने के लिए आलमी बरादरी को मिलकर काम करना होगा। साफ तवानाई में सरमाकारी को यकीनी बनाना होगा। पाकिस्तान काबिल तजदीद तवानाई के ज़राए पर ख़ुसूसी तवज्जो दे रहा है। काबिल तजदीद तवानाई में ताउन पर UAE के शुक्रगुजार हैं। साफ तवानाई में सरमाकारी यकीनी होगी। मुत्तहिदा अरब अमारात मौसमियाती तब्दीली के असरात से बचने के लिए ठोस इक़दाम कर रहा है। मुत्तहिदा अरब अमारात एनर्जी शोबे में सरमायाकारी का ख़्वाहां है।